It's November 10th, JLD here, and welcome to MSTR Today and the Treasury Titans. And we have woken up to a Bitcoin pump. We're over 106,000 as I record this. Who knows where it is when you're watching this, and who knows where it's going to be going this week. But it does look like the government shutdown is going to be over shortly. It looks like the resolution is imminent, hopefully by this coming Wednesday. But of course, only time will tell. Nothing in this video is financial advice, and I wanted to start off with Jordy Visser. This is a great post. This is a great video. You can see the YouTube link at the bottom here. It's about 53 minutes. I watched it in its entirety. I think it's a great video on all things when it comes to AI, Bitcoin, where we're going on all this. It's really cool. I got to know Jordy because he has frequent appearances on Anthony Pompliano's show, The Pomp. So I watch that often, actually. Anthony shows pretty much every single day, and I try to tune in to that, at least a shorter version of it, as much as I can. And Jordy always comes on there and drops value bombs. And what does he say here today? Well, Bitcoin is acting like it's found its IPO price. OG sellers are exiting. VC liquidity has dried up. Fear is high, but that's exactly how bottoms form. In this week's video, I break down why this phase mirrors the post.com cleanup, how AI liquidity is fueling profits, and why Bitcoin is the purest play on the digital economy. And Jordy was working for Morgan Stanley back in the late 90s, early 2000s. And so he was there at the front lines during the dot-com bubble and then burst. So this guy's been around. He's seen it before. He knows what he's talking about. I really love everything he said in this commentary. Highly recommend. And here we go from Ash Crypto. Bitcoin just broke 106. This chart's finally starting to look kind of decent, up almost 4% in the past 24 hours. We'll see where we're going, but I think a lot of people are excited about what's going to happen when the government shutdown concludes. Glimpse says, Bitwise says that 5% capital rotation from gold to Bitcoin could send Bitcoin to $242,391. That's just a 5% capital rotation. That's just a 5% of people that own gold, or I should say the people that own gold, if 5% of the total amounts rotates from gold into Bitcoin, $242,391. That is absolutely insanity. And they break down what would happen if 1% happened, 2, 3, 4, 5, etc. So time will tell, but it's looking good. Michael Saylor just wants us to know that we best continue. And very shortly, probably actually in about, it's going to be about an hour and a half from when I'm recording this video now. Michael Saylor is going to post exactly how much Bitcoin he bought last week. I'm really excited. I think this is a big one. I mean, every Bitcoin buy is big, but I think this one's especially big because this is going to show us how much Bitcoin was he able to buy from Stretch? How much Stretch ATM was he able to turn into the purest form of capital, the most pristine store of value in the world? Bitcoin. How much, Michael Saylor, were you able to ATM? I would love to know. My guess was 776 Bitcoin. Of course, that could end up being very aggressive. Some people put in the comments in the 100s and the 200s. That sounds pretty reasonable for the first week. I think a couple people actually even put higher than me, which I love to see that as well. But who knows? We'll see. If it's 50, if it's 350 Bitcoin, by the way, that Michael Saylor and Strategy buy because of their ATM Stretch, I will be pumped up because it is proof of concept. And guess what? He will best continue, and that's best with a capital Bitcoin B. Look at all these dots. It's just so cool what's happening in this world. It's so fun to be a part of this train that Michael Saylor has created. And as Lynn Alden says, nothing stops this train. Hugh says, if Bitcoin succeeds, MSTR succeeds more because MSTR is more Bitcoin. Do you understand that? Do you understand that every single week that you own MSTR, that you just sit on your hands and do nothing, Michael Saylor is adding more Bitcoin to the balance sheet, is increasing your Bitcoin per share, period, end of story. What does that mean? What is that in reality? That means he's continuing to raise the floor of Bitcoin, of MSTR share price, because the Bitcoin balance sheet just gets bigger and bigger. The treasure chest just continues to grow and expand and rise. And that makes the floor rise with it. So thank you, Michael Saylor, and thank you, Strategy. Ash Crypto says Bitcoin has played with holders' emotions this year. August seasonality has been up and ended in red. September seasonality has been down, ended in green. October has been the best month for Bitcoin. It ended in red. November has also started red despite being one of the most bullish months ever. We really can say that this time is different. And I think that's a really good way to end that, because this time it is different. And to me, this is why I'm not jumping ship because of a quote unquote 4-year Bitcoin cycle, because I personally am not on board with that. Who knows? I could be wrong. This is my opinion, but I truly am not on board with a 4-year cycle. I'm much more on board with what Chris talks a lot about, which is the 5-year global liquidity cycle. That makes a lot more sense to me. 100%. I think we continue to be strong all the way through 2026. That's of course me being uber bullish, because that's who I am. That's just my attitude. That's my personality. That's how I roll, and I'm not going to change. But hey, this time is different. It really feels different. I was around on the last 4-year cycle. I've been around in this market since 2018. That was the first time I bought Bitcoin. So I've experienced all of this from 2018. Here you go. Across the board, all of this and above, I've experienced every one of these months in some way, shape, or form. So I just feel like this time is different. I really do, but only time will tell. Zinc says, I'm of the opinion that Michael Saylor has an asymmetrical information and he's had it for a while. Of course, the end game is obvious for most of us who came to the conclusion that they will never stop printing money since Trump won last year. This is just a year ago. Strategy has bought 388,985 Bitcoin. Signal. I mean, can you believe that? I started buying Strategy back when they had in the hundreds, the low hundreds of Bitcoin. And I have been witness to them accumulating over 388,985 Bitcoin. I've loved every Bitcoin they've acquired. I've been part of that entire ride for this past year. And it's been such a fun ride. Now, it's not been a fun ride from the stock prices perspective. Of course, I was buying in the low 100s of Strategy all the way up, way past where we're at now. I was buying into the 300s for sure. As I'm dollar cost averaging in. But guess what? It's been an amazing ride to see the war chest that Strategy has created. And I've loved every part of it, except for the price action. Ragnar says, the U.S. government shutdown will likely end this week. Bitcoin is back over 106,000. Is this the start of November? So I guess 87% are saying it should end between November 12th and the 15th. That's what 87% are saying. So the next few days, not likely, but what is the 12th? That's Wednesday. So I think a lot of people are thinking Wednesday, Thursday, Friday timeframe is when the shutdown is going to end. So time will tell. Adrian says, I like TrendSpider, but they consistently post things that are misleading or factually inaccurate for engagement. The MSTR leverage ratio is less than 15%. And this is just, another example of just people going for clickbait, spreading FUD, just going out there to try to troll and just post misleading things to get engagement. And by the way, unfortunately, it's working. I mean, I'm talking about it. Adrian's talking about it, but I'm talking about it specifically because when you see these things out in the universe, that you can just say, you know what? That's just another troll. That's just another FUD. That's another person who just, pretends like they know what they're talking about and or thinks they know what they're talking about, and they're clueless. I've been talking a lot about the treasury of Michael Saylor the past couple of days, and a lot of you viewers who are amazing have gone ahead and read that and then put in the comments how much you're enjoying that book, because it's called putting in the work, because now you are so much more educated. You're so much better understanding what Michael Saylor is doing and attuned to his mindset. Whereas I have people in my comments and all over social media, of course, that just post these things and they're acting so confident. Like, if Michael Saylor only did this, he could sell like 25% of his Bitcoin and blah, 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 and diversify. And I'm like, oh my God, like, you really believe what you're typing right now. It's insane stuff. That's why you find one or two individuals that you truly believe are the financial engineering geniuses of our lifetime, and then you go all in. And that's what I did with Michael Saylor, and that's what a lot of you have done with Michael Saylor. And then guess what? Is there a chance that Michael Saylor's strategy could fail? Of course. That's why there's reward, because there is some risk. I think the risk is unbelievably minuscule, but hey, we got to admit that it's out there. But I am so happy with this bet that I have, because I believe it is an asymmetrical bet. So what a TrendSpider, right? They wrote, To quote the late Charlie Munger, smart men go broke in three ways: liquor, ladies, and leverage. And then they show IBET and MSTR, where IBET's up 6.3% over this time frame, where MSTR is down 19%. And guess what? Yeah, that sucks. It's brutal. This is what's called the MNAV compressing down towards like the 1.2 that it's at right now. But guess what? The MNAV will do what? It will uncompress at some point and it will shoot upwards and it will do the pendulum to the other way. And then we'll have to be talking about, dang, do we take a little bit off the table here because it's getting pretty darn frothy? And I'm going to be like, man, could I ever actually sell an MSTR share? I don't know if I'll be able to, but I look forward to having that conversation because that'll mean that we are just absolutely frothy again, which is going to happen. It's just a matter of when. But just, be aware out there. And let's end with this. Anthony Pompliano, he did this. This is pretty cool. The entire point of life is to be so wildly passionate that people can't decide if you're crazy or a genius. Case Kenny. And guess what? That's me right now with MSTR. People think there's so many people in my family and my friend group. They truly think that I'm a little crazy because I'm so passionate about MSTR. They say, you do a show literally every single day about the same company. Like, how do you not get bored? I'm not bored because this is the most interesting and the most exciting financial engineering, just genius execution of our lifetime. How can I be ever bored about that? I love this. I mean, when I was on my 4-month kind of bon voyage trip, I did 4 weeks in Maine. 6 weeks in Maine, 4 weeks in Nepal, then 6 weeks in San Diego. And I did not post that regularly during my Nepal and San Diego portion of the trip because we had a lot of things going on. I missed it. Like I missed it a lot. Like now I'm back in Puerto Rico. I'm set up my shop. I'm back in my studio. Like I'm producing a show every single day. I'm fired up. I'm loving your comments. So thank you so much for people that are welcoming back the dailiness of this and just the tireless execution of this, because I'm wildly passionate. And why would I want to live another way? And I hope that you have something that you're wildly passionate about. And maybe, one of those passionate things that you're incredibly passionate about is MSTR. And that's pretty cool. By the way, let's do this. Before I let you go today and move on to the great video of Michael Saylor's Schwab interview, post in the comments below, what's one thing besides MSTR that you're wildly passionate about? I'll share something with you right now. For me, I am wildly passionate about college basketball, specifically my college alma mater, Providence College in the Big East. I watch every single game like a madman. I track their recruiting. I'm in like multiple Slack groups about this team. There's like 7 Providence College basketball podcasts. I subscribe to every single one of them. And whenever an episode comes out, I listen to that episode almost immediately. I am wildly passionate about that. I'm wildly passionate about MSTR. And I'm really wildly passionate about my family. Like, of course, my son, Bo, 2 years old, my wife, Kate, and, just the life that I live down here in Puerto Rico. I am wildly passionate about that as well. I can't forget about my dog, Gus. Gus is a 5-year-old golden doodle, and he's amazing as well. So anyways, a little bit of a rant, but wanted to end there. Let me know in the comment section below, what are you wildly passionate about that's not MSTR and or the Bitcoin crypto universe? And enjoy the video from Michael Saylor. Adios. Senator Cynthia Lummis recently announced that funding for a U.S. strategic Bitcoin reserve can start anytime. This is a massive step forward for a strategic crypto stockpile, and no surprise, was soon followed by a new all-time high for Bitcoin. If you're looking to buy more Bitcoin, BitIRA can help. In fact, BitIRA will help you convert an existing IRA or 401k into Bitcoin. This also allows you to buy Bitcoin using pre-tax funds, then continue to invest in it over time as you do any other retirement account. And if you want, you can even add XRP, Ethereum, or other cryptos. BitIRA protects your assets with end-to-end insurance, highly secure storage, multi-encryption, and is registered with the US government. Your IRA is fully IRS compliant. Best of all, you can trade crypto within your retirement account without incurring taxes on any buys or sells. Just go to bitira.com/JLD and request a free info guide. Once you do that and open your IRA, you'll get a free ledger. Think about this. In March, President Trump signed an executive order for the Treasury to manage 200,000 Bitcoin as the foundation for a reserve. That's just the foundation. Go to bitira.com/JLD to open a tax-sheltered IRA in Bitcoin. Fire Nation, when you want more for your business, more privacy, more guidance, more success, it all starts with Northwest Registered Agents. These legends have been helping entrepreneurs launch and grow their businesses for nearly 30 years. They're the largest registered agent and LLC service in the US with over 1,500 corporate guides, real people who know your state's laws and actually care about helping you win. With Northwest, you can build your complete business identity, everything from what your customers see to what they don't, operating agreements, meeting minutes, compliance paperwork, and more. You'll get thousands of free resources, lawyer drafted forms, and step-by-step guides all in one place, and you don't even need to create an account to access them. Best part, privacy is automatic. Northwest never sells your data and handles everything in-house. Don't wait. Protect your privacy, build your brand, and get your complete business identity in just 10 clicks and 10 minutes. Visit www.northwestregisteredagent.com/JLD free and start building something amazing. Get more with Northwest Registered Agent at www.northwestregisteredagent.com/JLD free.
And it certainly has been gaining traction. I mean, crypto has got so many tailwinds this year. I mean, more regulatory clarity and support, more corporate adoption, institutional appetite, and also legislative wins. I mean, which one has been the biggest tailwind for the space, and what continues to drive it higher?
You know, there's been about half a dozen massive milestones in the past 24 months. The first one was the approval of spot Bitcoin ETFs in January of 24. And that sparked the explosion and the explosive success of IBIT, which went from $0 to $100 billion in less than 2 years. And it's the most successful ETF in the history of Wall Street. So that was a big deal, the endorsement of the SEC. The second big deal was the red sweep in November when you had a pro-crypto, pro-Bitcoin administration. We went from one supporter in the cabinet, Gary Gensler was a Bitcoin believer, 1 out of 12, to all 12 cabinet members, the president, the vice president, the head of the SEC, the head of the CFTC, the head of the Treasury, the head of Commerce, the head of, RFK, the head of, of the Housing Authority, Bill Pulte, Kelly Loeffler, and Howard Lutnick. So you all of a sudden have 12 positive cabinet members from one, and that was a big deal. The third big milestone was FASB's adoption of fair value accounting for crypto assets. Before that point, and that took place at the beginning of this year, beginning of 2025. Before that point, if you're a public company, you could mark down your losses on Bitcoin, but you could never realize the gains, right? It's literally an asset where you could only lose, you could never win, right? So the entire accounting rule was a deck stacked against you. And so fair value accounting meant that our equity, for example, went from 3 billion to 50 plus billion in 12 months, right? But if it wasn't not for fair value accounting, we would still have $3 billion instead of 50 billion. So that was very prejudicial and hostile accounting, and that flipped in January. I think the fourth big milestone is all of the pro-crypto and pro-Bitcoin guidance that came out of Treasury, the OCC, the FDIC, and the Federal Reserve. And the key point there is most banks in the United States and the rest of the world were afraid to custody Bitcoin. They were afraid to lend against it. They were afraid to do business with it under the previous administration. And I think the guidance that came out of the current administration delivered a message, which is not only is it safe for you to custody and extend credit against these assets, it's really imperative because the United States wants to be the crypto capital of the world, and we want to lead in digital assets, and that means our banks need to lead in digital assets. So that you can attribute to the president and to the Secretary of the Treasury, Bessent.
What's the second best? There is no second best.